Welcome to the channel, everybody. Today's subject is social climber and current Vice President JD Vance, a one-time never-Trumper.
There is definitely an element of Donald Trump's support that has its basis in racism or xenophobia.
JD has now greased his way into the Trump administration because he is willing to say anything, and he has a real talent for hitting the talking points and spreading around the disinformation, which of course is what he's there to do. Before we get started, I want to say two things. The first is thank you all for your continued support. If you would like to help the channel, please click all the helpful buttons. Secondly, in this video, I'm going to be taking it for granted that MAGA and America First are fascist movements, and that JD Vance is a mouthpiece for an authoritarian regime. If you want more of an argument for that conclusion, check out our last video. Thanks again, and now it's time for a quote.
Because the regime is captive to its own lies, it must falsify everything. It falsifies the past. It falsifies the present. It falsifies statistics. Rabble, the power of the powerless.
All right, to install a totalitarian state, objective news outlets must be removed and they must be replaced with round-the-clock state media propaganda. That is a must. And we're talking about the marketing arm of the regime that lashes out at the mainstream media, sues respected news stations and publications, and silences the opposition whenever possible. I think of this as the fake news department of the party.
You are fake news.
And the fake news department is a calculated org that systematically tries to silence critics. It's like Levitsky and Zablat put it in How Democracies Die.
Attacks on the press are rarely just rhetorical. They are part of a broader strategy to weaken the institutions that can hold executives accountable.
Attacking the press is one of JD Vance's primary functions within the state apparatus.
The media is one of the least trusted institutions in the United States of America.
We mentioned the press a minute ago. Someone who claims to be a member of it is Don Lemon, who's been arrested now.
The dumbest man in television.
Yeah.
CBS, NBC, ABC, there's always going to be an editorial slant to those networks, but they're also declining in power. So I do things like this. But I mean, how many people read Vogue?
Nobody.
Because the media, those people right there, they're corrupt, largely corrupt. They are truly the enemy of the people. They are.
The Vogue magazine thing stems from a recent story about California Governor Gavin Newsom. And the answer to how many people read Vogue is about 12 million a month. And if we look at YouTube and social media subscribers, they're way more popular than Megyn Kelly's app. Check out Twitter. Vogue, 14.3 million. Meg, 3.6 million. That's 4 times more popular. YouTube, Vogue, 16.1 million. Meg, 4.17 million. That's 4 times more popular. Instagram, 51.6 million for Vogue, 2.3 million for Meg. That's 22 times more popular. And this is called Undermining Rivals. Saying nobody likes your competitor and nobody reads your competitor is propaganda and marketing 101. Because in consumer psychology, popularity equals credibility. It also works the other way. Selling yourself as the best and calling yourself number one increases your credibility in the minds of the masses.
Nobody can do it like me. Nobody. Nobody can do it like me. Honestly.
Nobody's stronger than me.
Nobody has better toys than I do.
There's nobody bigger or better at the military than I am.
Nobody loves the Bible more than I do. Nobody builds walls better than me.
Nobody's better to people with disabilities than me.
And on a more sinister note, pretending your opponents are unpopular and dying off also helps if you plan to dispute a future election, because your supporters will believe that your rival is so unpopular that they could never have gotten the votes to win.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win.
Moving on, another department or arm of a fascist takeover is the enemies within department.
It's the enemy from within.
That means they create enemies within the country they can demonize and then call upon to terrify prospective supporters. Or as Hannah Arendt said in The Origins of Totalitarianism,
The masses are mobilized against enemies who are at once invisible, omnipresent, and internally dangerous.
And typically the enemies within department is two-pronged. On one front, the regime attacks their political opponent, converting them from the opposition party to an enemy of the nation that must be destroyed. Currently, that's the Democrat Party. And on the second front, they attack a group that is unequipped to defend itself. In America's case, low-income immigrants and LGBTQ people. This second set, the immigrants and the LGBTQs, is used as a scapegoat. It is the target the party and supporters of the party will aim for when they are afraid or dissatisfied and want to lash out. Then the trick of the party is to combine both the actual threat to power, the Democrats, and the powerless minorities into a composite enemy that wants to steal elections and steal welfare and overthrow democracy so they can enslave you, rape you, and make your kids transsexual Satanists. Supporters will let their morals wane and surrender their rights to an autocrat, as long as he promises to protect them from this imaginary enemy.
There can be no prosperity without law and order. I am the law and order candidate.
Take a look at JD going after the Democrat Party with the same old tired-ass strawman routine.
Actually ask yourself, what is it that unifies the Democratic Party in 2026 America? You know, you might say it's men and women's sports, raising taxes on hardworking Americans. A lot of Democrats believe that. You can't run a campaign on that.
Also hating Trump and hating abortion. I mean, loving abortion. Those two things.
Yeah, I mean,
they're really solid on that.
They like, again, I don't think this is true of most Democrats in our country, but most elected Democrats, it is a weird obsession with a culture of death, gender ideology, affirmative action, diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's like all of the things that divide Americans against each other, that make Americans hate one another, and that make Americans poor and less safe. That is the operating focus of elected Democrats.
And this is just the same old stuff that got them elected. He says Democrats want to raise taxes on hardworking Americans, and the truth is, Democrats want to raise taxes on the wealthy and corporations and provide more relief for working class Americans. JD says men and women's sports, which is an obsession among Republicans. In truth, what most Democrats advocate for are trans rights like protection from discrimination and access to medical care. And instead of saying Democrats support access to abortion, he calls them a death cult. And the game here is that they cherry pick topics that have a lot of nuance. And if you pretend that your opponent's opinion agrees with one of the polar extremes, then you can dismiss them as ridiculous, crazy, and even evil. It's an old trick.
There is a political bias angle to it.
But I've got some news for JD. In 2025, Democrats flipped 8 seats in state-level elections. They won strongly contested gubernatorial and mayoral races, and they have tons of momentum going into the midterms. And surprise, surprise, they aren't running on any of the shit JD just said. They're running on and winning on issues like affordability and cost of living relief, healthcare access and expansion, jobs, education, and economic opportunity, federal police invading communities and unlawfully detaining people, and broader economic concerns like continued high prices and a 75% decrease in job growth, which can be linked to the president's reckless tariff policies. Next up, JD fudges the facts, because when the regime makes the masses scared of an imaginary enemy, it is important that they pretend to fight it off once they are in power. In the next clip, Meg and JD reference a recent New York Times article about a study that says the 2025 homicide rate could be the lowest in 125 years. This gave MAGA Mouth 1, JD, and MAGA Mouth 2, Meg, an opportunity to attack the press while also praising the regime as a great protector. It was a twofer.
Also, fake, confused, or befuddled about,
Yes.
for example, the lowest crime rate in 125 years.
Absolutely.
The New York Times. We may never know
Yes.
how it happened.
Yeah. Well, okay, so just on this. One, lowest crime rate in 120 years. But like, let's tell the truth about the fact that there are Americans who are alive today because of Donald Trump's crime and immigration policies.
So he's saying we got rid of all the criminally legal immigrants and we stopped crime in big cities by deploying the National Guard, and now you're safer. You're welcome. But when we look into it, we're not surprised to find that the New York Times wasn't spinning. They were simply quoting a report published by the Council on Criminal Justice. And the authors of the report and commentating expert analysts agreed that the decrease in violent crime was likely caused by a combination of many cultural factors as well as policies. Factors like a decrease in alcohol and drug use among adults, surveillance cameras outside homes and businesses. Young adults are more likely than previous generations to stay home instead of going out. and digital wallets have made cash robberies less prevalent. Experts also gave a lot of credit to the American Rescue Plan of 2021, which stabilized local governments and led to a hiring frenzy of local government employees in jobs like teacher, counselor, clinician, and in some cases, police officer. The Rescue Plan also funded after-school employment and education programs which reduce crime rates. And because JD knows the fascist rabble who watch the Megyn Kelly show won't check his work, it doesn't matter that the authors of the study expressly stated that the decrease cannot be linked to individual causes like immigration enforcement, National Guard deployment, and violence intervention programs. And the experts also pointed out that violent crime numbers have been declining sharply since 2022, and that decrease is part of a larger downtrend that began in 2008. Analysts also made the good point that the study collected data from 40 large U.S. cities, and what do you know? Crime has trended downward in cities and areas where the National Guard has not been deployed and ICE operations have not been ramped up.
To give you this same treatment when you sit down with them, Mr. Vice
Completely
President?
unbiased reporting.
And this is just another classic propaganda tactic of the regime. They accept the results of the study, but they reject the analysis and conclusion and replace it with a pro-party narrative that casts the regime as the hero and implies that the unconstitutional acts were worth the payout. All right, it's time for another quote.
Restorative nostalgia does not think of itself as nostalgia, but rather as truth and tradition. Svetlana Boym.
The fascist promise of a national rebirth is motivated by what cultural theorist Svetlana Boym calls restorative nostalgia, meaning that members of the movement will elect an authoritarian that promises to restore the country to its mythical former greatness. And that authoritarian will win votes with slogans like "Make America Great Again." And this call to nostalgia is another department crucial to totalitarian success. They're going to fight off all the boogeymen and make the lives of Americans more childlike and worry-free. But their promise is to return the country to the norms and conditions of a time that never existed. So they must lie about how things were and how things are going. And JD never misses a chance to promote the idea that the country is returning to its mythical former greatness.
But this president, I think, is much more focused on the home front than any president in my lifetime. And he's gotten a lot. I mean, look, $18 trillion in new investment. The country's finally starting to reindustrialize.
$18 trillion from other countries who are investing into the United States.
The United States of America.
All right, so this one is just laughable. The 18 trillion figure clearly only exists in the mind of the president. So much so that the official White House page could only inflate the truth to 9.6 trillion. I mean, where's the rest? So this page has already been picked apart by PolitiFact, so I'll just hit a couple. First off, this isn't all foreign investment, evidenced by all the American companies listed.
From other countries who are investing into the United
States of America.
And then there's my favorite, Qatar pledging 1.2 trillion. Qatar's annual GDP is only 218 billion. So even if they gave us every dollar their country made, it would take 6 years to hit 1.2 trillion. It's clown shit. Moving on.
Individual sport, what an honor for her.
There is the Vice President, JD Vance, and his wife, Usha. Those are not. Those are a lot of boos for him.
The Vice President got booed during the opening ceremony. What do you make of that frosty?
No, I didn't see that. Is that true? Is that right?
Yeah.
It's surprising because people like him.
No, they don't like him. And that's why it's unlikely that JD will be Trump's successor as party leader. JD has zero charm and less than zero charisma. And he's clearly a spineless coward who wants to capitulate to power in exchange for advancement. I mean, listen to him hit this rehearsed sounding cuss word like he's a narc trying to fit in with the cool kids.
You know, you probably have, I don't know, 5 times as many viewers, 100 times as many viewers as the average CNN show because people are fed up with the bullshit.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say
You're allowed to.
You know,
yeah, no, our YouTube feed on a monthly basis beats all of CNN.
Much.
Spare us the fake outrage, JD. It's not working. Oh, and listen to this goofy shit.
Stephen Miller is one of my closest friends in the administration. He and I go way back.
Can JD really be so naive and desperate to have his belly scratched that he thinks the Santa Monica Ghoul, the human cold front Stephen Miller, is his friend? That's hilarious. Oh yeah, me and the Plague are great friends. What a knob. But I guess that gives us some insight into who JD's handler and propaganda mentor is. It's old Mass Graves Miller. Not surprised.
I'm definitely not going to vote for Trump because I think that he's projecting very complex problems onto simple villains.
Well, that's it. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And if you want to support me with money, please do so by following the link in the description. My name is Greg Kored, your ally in the fight against disinformation.